This is Compound Insights, a podcast by CFA Society New York. I'm your host, Rob Rowan. Today, we are very lucky to be joined by Senator the Honorable Auburn Hill. He is the Minister of Industry, Investment, and Commerce for Jamaica. Minister Auburn Hill has had government roles in Jamaica since 2016. Prior to that, he had a long career in international banking. And during that time, he held many posts, including Group Managing Director of the National Commercial Bank of Jamaica. He earned his MBA from Harvard Business School. So I'd like to start with first welcome, Mr. Hill. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, Rob, and I'm pleased to be with the CFA Society of New York, a society that I respect wherever I find it around the world, and I have seen it many places.
Oh, thank you. That's wonderful to hear. Yeah. um, so I'd like to start off with something that is probably important for a lot of the folks on the call who either work to manage someone else's money or manage their own money, which is which companies and sectors in Jamaica do you think have made the most practical and lasting changes that will improve their ESG numbers or their compliance with the global goals?
I think I would have to start with the National Water Commission. For instance, I chair that at one time. The National Water Commission has broad responsibility for potable water and sewage across the country. Mm-hmm. We live in the tropics. There's a lot of water you have to deal with. There's drainage issues. And also there are refuse issues. People in the big gullies that drain water into the sea or elsewhere, people throw stuff in there, and the NWC, but also my colleague minister, Matthew Samuda, who is really responsible for climate change and will be at the COP with the Prime Minister. He has done a tremendous job in getting people to recognize that the drainage systems that we have are vital to the management of our environment and our society, and throwing plastic, especially plastic bottle and plastic bags, are terrible. You can't do that. And we have passed a law where the once in a use plastic bag is no longer allowed. People who have come on board very well for that are one private company I know, Wysinco, with their bottled water. Other people who have used a lot of Lasco and others who have used a lot of plastic bags. The fast food companies have come in very well and moved away to cardboard and away from plastic. So we have those companies who have been complying. Some of it has been costly, but they've gone down the road. And overall, the policy carrying organization of the government, the National Water Commission, has been upfront. They're leading it. And we have to, because we're an island. We love the greenery that we have here.
Of course, it is. It is a lovely, lovely place. That's as many people know. Are there other sectors that you think are doing well in complying with the SDGs or others?
I think the manufacturing sector, people like, Wysinco is a manufacturer, but people like Jamaica Brothers Group, who are the biggest producers of chicken in the Caribbean, they have gone down the road to make sure that they comply with the requirements that would generally be in the ESG area. They're well-managed companies. The companies that I'm calling to you are very well managed. And so and for instance, Jamaica Brothers Group operates a great deal of businesses in the United States. So they have to meet those criteria, both here and over there. So that's a company that would stand out as meeting those criteria quite well.
Mm-hmm. And just as a side question, I would imagine that the massive amount of banking that is coordinated through some of the large Canadian lenders and Canadian banking organizations, does that have an impact on the speed of ESG implementation also? Because some of those provincial governments are way ahead of anything in the US. So...
I haven't seen them standing out. We have Scotiabank here, of course, which is the dominant one, CIBC. They haven't taken a a prominent role. Doesn't
Mhm.
mean that they're not doing important things, but
Of course.
it's not they focus on their business more or less. Manufacturers like the ones I've called are much more in the crosshairs of people who are looking at ESG matters, and especially environmental and social matters. And so those will more quickly come to mind and tend to be much more prominent than, say, ones in the financial sector. But I know also, of course, the requirements, sometimes quite stringent requirements, that the Canadian business houses have to deal with.
Mhm.
And I know that they do not water down those requirements for their subsidiaries overseas. And in fact, it's just that they don't necessarily take a prominent position, but I know that the way they handle their electricity, the way they handle their waste will be of the highest standard. You just don't, so high that you don't even have to report on
Right, right. That's
it.
makes compliance easy, doesn't it? Yes.
Yes.
Um, well, the other key sector for Jamaica's economy is, of course, tourism. Could you talk
And
a
they
little bit?
also play a big, a compliant role, but put your
Yeah,
question.
yeah. No, so my question is more about the overall health of the tourism sector after the disruption caused by COVID. And I guess some of your other sectors were also affected by the COVID lockdown. So could you give us a little update on how things have recovered since the end of the lockdown and the other measures that were taken by your country?
Two areas stand out: the tourism sector and the BPO, what we now call the knowledge outsourcing sector. And I'll address them. Tourism is under my friend and colleague, Ed Bartlett, who we charitably and truthfully call Minister of Tourism of the World, because Ed Bartlett is everywhere. He's in Eastern Europe, he's in South America, he's in the Middle East, he's in Canada, he's in the United States, making sure tourists come to Jamaica, and we're having a real bumper season. This summer has been outstanding. He's been reporting the numbers on a regular basis. He appears in New York regularly. He might be there right now. And so our tourism industry, which had to lock down, go through a full lockdown, people weren't traveling. COVID, we didn't know what it was. We had to take steps to lock it down. However, soon after the lockdown, my friend Ed found all kinds of resilient corridors. I'm still searching for some of them, but Ed found those corridors, brought people back into Jamaica very quickly. They're relatively safe, no major outbreak, and we have recovered, our tourism industry has recovered to be better than it was in 2019 before the pandemic. Cruises are back, tourists are back, hotels in Kingston and Montego Bay are packed. My wife says to me, look, I can't get into a restaurant anymore without making a reservation. And she used to notice, a year and a half, 2 years ago, look, you can go in a restaurant you want without a reservation. We went this week to a restaurant in downtown Kingston, right by the waterfront, and the ROK Hotel, actually. It's called the Palette. And it was packed. People outside, inside the restaurant, and that's downtown Kingston. Right across on the street is a big jerk chicken and fish purveying restaurant, all packed, cars all over the place. So our tourism industry is back. So that's tourism. In the case of the ICT, the knowledge outsourcing business, we didn't close down that business. We quickly moved to work from home,
Hmm.
which I was not then running this ministry. I was actually in the Prime Minister's Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation.
Hmm.
But the calls used to come to me a lot from the operators of this business. And I'd work closely with the Minister of Finance, Dr. Nigel Clark, to make sure we get work from home operational and then renew it on a regular basis. Because if you're dealing with a special economic zone, there are benefits that you have that should not go outside that zone
Right.
because of the COVID-19 once in a century, a pandemic. We made certain adjustments and live with them, and that saved our BPO industry. Not only did it save it, Rob, but we for the last 4 or 5 years, we've grown upward of between 15 and 20% year by year. So that has been a really, really good supporter of the Jamaican economy through that period of time.
Yeah, this is something I actually researched a little bit before this podcast and this recording, and it was interesting to see how some sovereign analysts started to see some of the flexibility that you all were applying to those COVID regulations as a positive for your sovereign rating or your sovereign bonds. So, so that
Glad
was,
you
you know,
went.
it's
Glad you went here, Rob, because 2 days ago on the 13th, Standard and Poor's, as you will know, you're in the CFA society, you know everything that goes on. Standard and Poor's raised our rating to BB minus,
yeah.
which is really just below investment grade. Now, you have to put that in context. In 2013, 2014, 15, we were a basket case. We
Right.
were different between triple C and B minus, whatever it was.
Mhm.
Really quite negative. To be now at BB plus is amazing.
Yeah.
We are just below what we need to be investment grade, and we suspect in the next 2 to 3 years we will move in that direction. Now that means that releases a great deal of investment attention to Jamaica.
Right.
Those who are really forward thinking are saying, hey, these guys have been coming from 147% debt to GDP, now down to 77, moving in the direction of the 60% that they said they're going to be by 2027, 28. We probably will beat it. So this is the time when this rating gets this high to come in and invest in Jamaica. Well, we have, I don't know, Ed tells me, or Minister of Industry, that we're looking right now at committed at another 20,000 hotel rooms in the next 3 to 5 years. Another in the next year and a half, maybe another 1,500 rooms or 2,000 rooms already in the ground, ready to be finished. So people are investing in Jamaica. People are now looking at, I think, an RFP for energy. They're looking at the infrastructure. The Prime Minister just opened another length of the circular highway around the country that he wants to complete on the Southern Highway, and from Kingston to Mandeville. What used to take 2.25 hours will now take 45 minutes. So the interior of the country will open, the southern coast of the country will open up, and investors will have more place to do. We're going to look at building 70,000 houses in a couple of years. Investors are coming in. We need more than 70,000. That's a government's plan. We're looking to investors who are interested to come in, bring in your template, fix it up in Jamaica. As a Minister of Industry, Investment and Commerce, I want those things to be developed here, not to be shipped from overseas. If you're going to build 100,000 houses, there's enough reason here to develop your systems in Jamaica. So we can, when we fix Jamaica, export. Guyana is going to need a lot of houses.
Right.
It's becoming a very rich country very fast.
Yeah, very
Other
quickly.
Caribbean countries will need it. Jamaica is a natural logistics center for that. And we're
Interesting.
selling that as a major item of our investment destination.
Yeah, I mean, this was once again when I was researching this I became kind of interested in this because this is a commercial real estate market that is growing while the rest of them are trying to figure out how to write their debt down.
I see from Asia right across. We see what's going on there.
Yeah.
We have our building industry has been doing extremely well. Cement sales have been good, so cement is a very good arbiter of what's going on. The Airbnb business has been extremely good in Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
There is no tax on that business yet. I don't see that the finance minister. I can't speak for him, but certainly it doesn't seem to be in the works. And we're encouraging that because it's a good way to bring in hard currency. And
Right.
clearly, I mean, Rob, as you say, you've been researching. When there was a threat of a rain or hurricane, our currencies go wobbly and devalues.
Right.
We have gone through a pandemic, and our currency at one time valued against the US dollar.
Well,
knowing
right,
that
but but you did a couple other things along the way that didn't hurt, like that lowering of
we did something. Tell me.
the debt. That had a pretty
Yes.
big impact on it too. So, um, well, so this is, where I'd like to shift a little bit because this growth is also, a bit of a risk. As everyone has been reading in the global news everywhere, we've had the record heat everywhere this summer. And that has brought a lot of the climate change risks into focus for a lot more people than I think it had before. So this probably presents you all have a massive coastline. And, how are businesses there, say even in agriculture, et cetera, adapting or planning to adapt to that type of change?
Let me answer the climate change issue very quickly by saying this. Many countries with huge geographies and all kinds of resources can spend a lot of time talking about climate change. We can't. Whatever the scientists will say, we can't.
Right.
When I came back to Jamaica, having been out of Jamaica for a long time, maybe 20 years ago now, there's a place I used to go to. It's called Hellshire. Many people who've been to Jamaica, tourists will know where it is because it sells amazingly good, all kinds of steamed fish, fried fish, all kinds. It's a fish place. And I happen to love fish. I eat fish practically every day. So we used to go to Hellshire. Rob, when I came back to Jamaica, the sea was like, let's say, for this argument, 100 feet away from the nearest stall that we would go to eat,
Hmm.
because you want to be as close as you can
Right.
on
It's
the beach to
fresher.
the
Yeah.
sea
Yeah. Of
while you
course. Yeah.
eat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, no, that sea line is right under the house, the place that we used to eat. They're going to have to move very soon. So I, I'm not going to get involved in the discussion. I can tell you, I've seen my beach at Hellshire move,
Right.
and
Right.
so we have to be protective of it. What do we sell? We sell when you come to Jamaica, the wonderful lush green mountains. You can stay as you're flying. You can see them. You can drive very quickly and get up there. It's salubriously cool, up to 7,000, where it's quite cold in Christmas time.
Yeah. Sure.
So my home, for instance, is about 1,800 feet above the sea level in South
Hmm.
St. Elizabeth. That's
Hmm.
where my country home is now, where I grew up. And it takes me 20 minutes to get to the sea now. That's perfect. That's almost what Lebanon used to sell when Lebanon was a good country. You could go to the sea and drive up to the mountain and get snow
Yeah.
to ski.
Exactly.
So we don't have the skiing, but we're quite high. So we have that. We have to make sure we protect that very well. The farming issue, that is same area that I told you I'm from, St. Elizabeth, adjoining to Manchester, Clarendon, along that coast.
Hmm.
We have a lot of farmers. Um, it's also the place in Jamaica where you have the highest um, global horizontal irradiance, which is how you measure um, the 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 lumens you get for your solar energy,
Right.
GHI. So it's high, so it's dry, but a lot of food products, melons, yams, potatoes, scallion, thyme, all come from that area, tomatoes. And so we have now, when I was, as I said before, in the other ministry, in the Prime Minister's ministry handling water, we negotiated, well, the French gave us a grant for about $800,000 to study irrigation on the Black River. The Black River is the largest river in Jamaica. So we're looking to pump that water up, which is up the mountain at Monroe. You pump it up using solar because the GHI is so high in that area, in that flat area by the sea. Pump it up, and then you gravity feed it all around that area, square miles and square miles.
Right.
We are now, the Prime Minister announced that in his budget earlier this year. We're now looking to make sure that irrigation project comes on board quickly. We have other irrigation project. The British, for coming up the road from there, going into the Kingston direction, gave us 3-4 years ago, five now maybe, a grant of about 59 million pounds to put in irrigation in South St. Elizabeth, in St. Catherine, parts of Clarendon, if I remember well. That is going on. The Essex Valley irrigation system is going on. So we're making arrangements to take through, and we have water. We have wells that we can drill and get water from, and rain catchment, of course, is important. So we're doing things that will make sure we get a sustainable farming arrangement in place to protect our food security and provide jobs for our people.
Yeah. Well, perhaps that's a good place to leave it, because that is the thing that Minister Hill and your fellows are supposed to do. And
That's right.
um,
That's our job.
I mean, look, it has been very fun. It was very fun for me to research this. To this podcast, really interesting to hear it from your perspective. So thank you. Um, and thank you all for those of you who downloaded this podcast. I hope that you all are getting a better view of some emerging and frontier markets, hearing directly from people in them. That is one of the values that we're trying to deliver to all CFA Society New York members. If you enjoyed what you heard here, just be aware that we're going to have a Jamaica event at the beginning of next year in the first quarter. We're still working on a date, so please keep your browsers pointed at cfany.org. Until next time, I'm your host, Rob Rowan.